We made it.
We made it, family. Spoiler alert, love wins.
Yeah, we waited for a long time to share our love, our first mission of sexiness with you.
And a transmission of love, polarity, relationships, and all the other things. So we're going to be sharing some codes that we've been practicing on our own and together. And also, if you have any questions, type them in the chat, share where you're tuning in from, share your comments. And if you're feeling this video, share it out with your family and friends.
Exactly. And yes, the more energy we're seeing from you, the more we can support you and actually inspire you with what we have experienced in our own relationship and with our clients. So please, share what's alive and send us your questions.
Yeah. So what's the first thing you want to talk about, babe? What's the first topic?
Ease. Actually, before doing this live, we were really tuning into the why we're doing this work. How can we support you? And the first thing that really shocked us in our relationship, I think the first week, and it hasn't changed, is that it's easy. We knew that love can be good and inspiring and sensuous, but we never realized it can be so easy. Easy for the nervous system, easy for the heart, and just functioning really well from like 3D reality, logistics, and actually going to really deep shamanic realms. And we can approach all of them with absolute grace. You want to speak to that?
Well, this is a story I think a lot of us have, just because the way our parents, were raised by their parents and their parents and their parents. Almost none of them, as you can probably tell, had any fucking idea how love works. It's just something that happens. And so I know I had a belief in the past that love has to be hard and it's like work and, it's like a job. You have to do the things. But what I found with you is when you're actually compatible and you have matching attachment styles and love languages and erotic blueprints and agreements, you can actually create a lasting love that's highly charged and is easy. It doesn't have to be work. It can actually be play, and it can be extremely, rewarding and fulfilling. It doesn't have to be work.
Yeah. And I think it's so important that you mentioned some of the core, like grounding factors, like compatibility, like attachment styles and love languages and things like that, because in my own personal experience, I learned it the hard way. I used to think that love is enough, and I think that it's not. I wish I could say otherwise, but we need like the grounding work where we actually know that we can, we feel sexually deeply attracted to each other, our hearts are safe, and that we have a shared vision for life, shared values, we are on the same page, we have the same timing. So all these things have to be in place for love to really flourish and be easy.
Yeah. Well, the attraction is one level. There's the biological experience of love, which can be intense and just like, I'm feeling a thing. And that's amazing, and you should follow that. And it doesn't always mean that it's going to lead to a healthy relationship. So that's a big lesson I think a lot of folks get to learn. Yeah. And I've learned, and you've learned, that physical attraction alone and passion alone always isn't the best move, because that will lead to, infatuation, that can lead to obsession, that can lead to codependency. And this is where, relationships, just like anything else, just like your work, just like art, is a practice, and it's a training, and it's something you get better at the more you do it, and you have to approach it that way. Yeah. So that's really the best thing. And someone asked a question here: is it true that couples that dance together stay together? I think that is true. Because dancing together is an amazing way to explore compatibility and attraction in a non-verbal space, in a non-sexual space, which is amazing. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, would you say sound vibrations match emotional vibrations? I mean, I'm not sure what you mean by that, but I'm assuming you mean the sound of the voice, which is 100% true. Yes. And this is actually one of the things we first experienced when we first started talking.
And actually before that, because, the first time I felt like a little spark of attraction towards Kevin So, he's got a podcast. I'm just gonna listen to his voice and see what he's got to say. He said amazing things, but actually, what almost shocked me is his voice. And it was so vulnerable to listen to his voice that I actually couldn't listen to your podcast. I love that. It touched me too deeply because your voice just penetrated me first thing, and I had to stop listening to your podcast. So I guess your voice was one of the first things that actually, it penetrated my heart, and it was a little bit too much at the time because I didn't know you.
Yeah. Well, I think this is a primal thing because as mammals we evolve as pair bonding, right? We pair bond and we relate through communication, both verbal and nonverbal. And so if you don't like the sound of someone's voice, literally, like on a core level, the sound of their voice, if it's not melodic to you, if it's not attractive, if it's not pleasing to the ear, that's going to be a tough time. So that can be one of those early factors that's just intuitive instant, is like the sound of the voice, right? And that was also one of the first compliments I paid you, was I thought she had a very sexy voice. I was very attracted to that, and being a very vocal person, a speaker and artist and poet, my voice is very important to me, and also my ear, being an audiophile, was a big part of that. Yeah. Someone here is asking, how did you guys meet, in case I missed that part?
Visually rotate who tells the story each time, because we get asked often. I don't know.
Well, we met in Bali initially, and when we met, we both had other partners, and we met at Ecstatic Dance Classic, and
it was a year ago.
It was a year ago.
Yeah.
And the attraction was instant. Like, we both saw each other, felt it. It was real. I knew something was here, but then later we were both single, and we just went on one date. I was traveling to go lead my retreat in Costa Rica, and then she was also going to Costa Rica.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that I was so attached to my life in Bali. It was working so well. I had been there for almost 4 years. I had a very strong tribe and like a very good routine. It was just my home. And then suddenly I had this calling. I have to go to Costa Rica. And I thought, what the fuck? I don't know anyone there. I don't care about Costa Rica. I'm happy in Bali. But the pull was so strong that I just began seeing signs everywhere. Costa Rica, Costa Rica, Costa Rica. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna go. And each time I followed this calling, and it had happened maybe 3 times before that in my life changed radically. So I knew that sense of, okay, a breakthrough is coming, I've got to trust. And I didn't realize that the reason would be Kevin. Even though we met in Bali, briefly, we actually had to meet, I think, outside of our habitual environments in Bali to actually fully feel and see each other and be available.
Right. And that's really important, is like, well, I mean, being travelers, we were living in Bali long term, but also traveling a lot. When you meet someone on the road or when you're in transit, it's very different when you meet someone in your village or like when you're actually grounded. And so I think the travel connections can be very enticing, exciting, but it can be hard to create lasting relationships. And we had a very fateful crossing of paths in another country, and then traveled together when we started dating. So that was a big blessing.
Yeah.
And I think, it's one of those starstruck Shakespearean things that you can't really explain. So you guys complement each other well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Someone asked, what is something you share in common? What is it, babe?
I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind, actually, we're like the perfect polar opposites. So there's a lot of shared ground, and there's a lot of perfect polarity. I didn't know this answers the question precisely, but he is very masculine in his essence. Firm, present, full of direction, full of leadership. He knows how to command space, and that's something I find very attractive. And I love my surrender space. I love my devotional space. I love my wide emotional spectrum, right? So I feel he's like a very solid rock I can lean into, and he loves directing. Not directing, I don't know if that's the right word.
Sometimes directing.
my feminine, right? My love, my devotion. So we really complement each other. So this is the polarity space, and maybe we can speak about this in a minute. But what we share in common, I think, we love to play. We laugh a lot. We love even when we make love. Really have a lot of fun.
It's huge. Sense of humor is everything. And being a comedian, being super into that, her being, if a woman, as a man, if a woman's not laughing at your jokes genuinely, not faking it, it may be tough to date each other. Mm-hmm. And so that's humor and sexuality and compatibility are very
We're
close
both
together.
Very sexual, and we love making love a lot.
Yes, that's probably one of the most important things on a biological, primal level.
Yeah.
And we also share intellectual ideas in common. We like the same literature. We love the same. I mean, Hermann Hesse was like a huge part of our courtship because we both loved the same author and styles of thought. So that was a huge compatibility thing. Yeah. And we're also both in the similar work. We both teach relationships. We both are business people, entrepreneurs, and coaching and facilitators. So this was a big, instant sync up as well. So having a lot of common interests is really important, but to the polarity side, it's like, she's the exact opposite. She's extremely feminine. In the past, I had dated more masculine women, which, was a learning thing, but ultimately you want the yin and the yang. So you have to have a masculine side and a feminine side. And it doesn't matter who holds which per se, but in our case, being dominantly masculine, she's dominantly feminine, that has to be there to create the energy. And this is what polarity is all about. And polarity is not something that you can artificially create. There's practices, there's things you can train and lean into, but ultimately polarity is a natural thing that you'll just feel. Your animal body will feel, your nervous system will feel, and that is going to create a lot of energy. And that energy, if directed, creates lasting love, polarity, sexuality, intimacy, emotional availability. And that's the best part.
I just want to speak a little bit into polarity because I feel many people have heard this term being thrown around and you kind of get what it is, but maybe not so fully. So I just want to really reframe that so that we're all on the same page. And I see there's questions coming in. So we're going to get back to them in a minute. So, polarity in the most basic sense is that pull of attraction towards someone, right? So it's not just the actual sexual desire that you feel in your body, but it's like the desire or that arc of magnetic energy rising through your body in relationship to someone, right? So yes, it happens when there's a primal body attraction, but also I do believe it's a language, and there is an art to learn how to speak that language and navigate it. So yes, it is important to have it from the very beginning. Otherwise, I think it's really hard to create it artificially. I don't think it's really possible. No. But once it's there, we can actually play with it. And for us, it has become our favorite language, like our art. We're very intentional about our polarity, and I would love to share more about this because I think this is the tool that would completely revolutionize so many couples' lives, because I think the most painful belief that a lot of couples hold is that sexual spark has to die off. Mm-hmm. And it sounds kind of basic, but it leads to so much pain, divorces, just pain, horrific pain, right? So really want to dedicate this life to maybe inspire couples that you can learn how to not only maintain but deepen the polarity over the years. Mm-hmm. So how we are intentional about this is it's about the quality of energy we bring into the relationship, right? So for example, if I'm in my work mode, right, I am in my emails or teaching or that energy, I'm very intentional to stay in my body when I do that, right? So I take a lot of breaks, move, I feel, and then when I come to Kevin, especially if I have an intention to maybe connect sensually, I really connect to my desire, I connect to my breasts, my heart, my yoni, and when I come to him, my energy is actually receptive, as opposed to telling him about my day, my to-do list, or having a bro conversation. And I feel like Kevin is the same. So how do you cultivate your intentionality?
Yeah, polarity, again, you have to have a positive and negative side. It's like a magnet, right? So if you have two positive, you'll repel. If if you're both negative or in yin, you'll repel. It'll be hard to create the energy, especially around the body and sensuality. So polarity is a practice. Like as a man, if you want to be in your masculine, you need to be certain, you need to be direct, you need to be initiating and moving energy. And so that comes very naturally to me. So I'm in my work, doing my thing, I'm in that. And then when I meet her, it's like I have to polarize into attuned masculine. Because if I'm in a single focus, just obsessed, working, doing stuff, it's easy just to be lost. But when we, I think most couples struggle because of the career model that's been created over the last, many hundreds of years around, recently women in the workplace and female entrepreneurs. I feel like those are some of the most obvious problem situations I see with clients all the time, is that women have a hard time transitioning from work and being in their masculine, getting shit done, to being in feminine and receptive, surrendered, magnetic, so they can create powerful polarity. And so it's one of the things I love most about her is she's practicing this as an art. And so we, in our day, even though we're both doing our thing, running our business, we can still come back together and quickly switch into love mode and then switch back to work mode, or maybe not, and then move energy that way, instead of just like expecting. Like I think a lot of couples, especially when I work with older couples that are married, they just kind of expect like, at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, she's just going to be ready to make love, or she'll just be in her. But there's a process, there's practices. And as the man, there's practices as well to transition and be able to be with the feminine and not just be in war mode or work mode. And so these are some of the things, no one taught us. Our parents didn't teach us this. No one's talking about it. I mean, some people are now. It's catching on, the polarity movement. Some of you might know David Data or John Wineland, both amazing teachers in this. There's a lot of female teachers that do this as well. But this is something, it's an art form. It's a science. You have to learn and practice. And I think a lot of people sleep on this because they don't think it's necessary. They think, it just happens. I don't need to do anything. That's just how it is. And it's like, no, just like anything else. Just like you had to learn X, Y, Z, in work or in art or in your life, you have to learn this and relating. And so I think a lot of people would be served very well by studying and practicing that. There's so many questions. Thank you all for being here. Yeah. So much amazing stuff. I want to go back to some of these. So a lot of people coming out now saying they met their partners when they were with someone else. What is it like navigating that?
I think in our case, it wasn't like so much big of a deal because we just met briefly for 5 seconds and that's it. And we're both very much in integrity and being loyal to, the partners we're with. So we met. It's like, whoa, there is power in this man. And at the same time, I'm very contained with my sexual energy. So I did not entertain this idea. We're not talking. I was not envisioning anything. I was actually still with my last partner, and we're at the beginning of actually moving through our breakup. So we still had about a month together or so. And only when we fully transitioned out of our relationship, only then I really took the time to move through my grief and sit with my heart and clear the space before I sent a message to Kevin.
Yeah,
so there was no drama.
Yeah, this is the thing. If you're in a relationship and then you meet someone who later could become your partner, it's all about integrity. It's all about what you want. And so the fact that you're even being attracted heavily to someone while you're in a relationship is something to look at. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to break up, but like what's happening there? What are you being attracted to? And you have to explore that, and you explore that inside yourself and get really clear, and then probably explore that with your partner and talk about it. And so in our case, it was just a noticing, it happened, and then life naturally brought us together later when we weren't with partners and it wasn't an issue. But I think some people, the drama gets created when the cheating, the jealousy, the envy, all of that stuff comes into play because people don't want to have tough conversations. And so the core art in all of this stuff, love, polarity, and relationships, is communication. And we'd highly invite you to look more into that because that's huge.
And I want to mention one more thing. I really believe that the shared energy in which two people begin a relationship does determine the depth and the success and the quality of the relationship. So for us, integrity is a core value, right? So we had to ensure that we're not hurting anyone, right? That we're whole in our beings, we're full before we reach out and talk in the very first place.
Right. And that's being in integrity. It's not, giving off, being leaky with your sensual energy. You are only communicating, texting, DMing if you are in integrity and actually going for it. And that is something only you know. And obviously, we know what happens when you don't do that, is you just create drama and pain and confusion for you and all the partners involved. And so, this is really important to keep it clean, hold your energy, explore it yourself before taking that action, right? And doing the right thing, because you don't want to create that karma. It's really,
exactly, it's
never worth it. This is for you. Would you say, Orca, that he allows you to be vulnerable and embrace your divine feminine? Is it true, babe?
He not only allows it, but he invokes it. I never fully believed that a man existed who could hold my whole range, which is quite deep and wide, emotionally and sexually. And he inspires me to go deeper through the layers of my emotions, through my sexual expression. So actually, I never feel there's any cap or resistance to how much I'm allowed to express. And he always that's actually the beauty. I'm not just expressing moment to moment and actually have agreement that I don't hold anything. And ideally, I try to express it with a sound. If it says something that I'm like, oh, I'll let him know. Oh, that impacted me in a way that actually felt like contraction. And also let him know when he says something, I'm like, oh yeah. Because very often as women, we let our men know that they're not doing something right. But we don't let them know that we're doing something right too. So Kevin knows everything. That's why our emotional space is so clear and we don't really process stuff. Right? So what I wanted to say, Kevin not only allows my full range to happen, but he leans into my range. And that is the most healing thing for me as a woman.
Yeah, I mean, this is feminine responsiveness, which he's an expert at, which I've never met a woman so responsive. If you're able to, as a female, the feminine energy, and she's a generator, so it's sacral energy, if you're familiar with human design. So she makes noises. She's like, ooh, yes, or yeah. I instantly am getting cues and noticing that and being able to act on it or not. And so that is extremely powerful for the masculine, because then you can trust that she's feeling what she's feeling and that she's not going to withhold. And even if she does try to withhold at this point, I can just spot it immediately.
Like, do I read my mind? I would like to do that.
And I can read her mind and just completely go into the space that we need and actually allow and explore it instead of trying to fix it, solve it, change it, or suppress it. And so a lot of men out there, this is a huge code, is, they want to fix. So if the woman is feeling XYZ, they might be like, oh, I need to change this. How do I solve the problem? Let's get rid of this, or blah, blah, blah. And most of the time it's like, hey, what are you feeling? What are you experiencing? Nothing needs to change. I don't want to solve this. It's just feel it. And sometimes it's just presence. Sometimes it's just attention. Sometimes it's touch. Sometimes you need to talk about it. But that's the actual key, is moving through it in that way instead of trying to, oh, let's change this or fix it. And that's something, it's quite natural for the masculine. And it's a training to just hold center and just breathe through it and be aware and present. And as the woman, one of the cheat codes or magic spells is, hey, I'm feeling XYZ. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to fix this. I just need X. I need touch. I need to be heard, basically, or seen. Yeah.
And Kevin has one magical intuitive tool that I would love for every single man on the earth to know that. If I'm feeling something and he doesn't really know what's going on just yet. And I said, hey baby, just come and lay on me. So he sits like this on the bed and I just lay on his chest with my back on his chest and just holds my hand, my heart, my womb, and just holds me. And that's enough. Very often in 10-15 minutes, I cry, I laugh, sometimes I talk. And very often, we do transition to lovemaking because then my heart just feels so open and so held and so safe that this is one of the core principles of Tantra, is transmutation, right? So when we can really allow and witness whatever's coming up with love, the energy, let's say the emotion of resentment transforms into anger, anger into sadness, then sorrow, and then love, and then it's God. Pure connection.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take that much time, but it takes a lot of very radical self-responsibility, meaning that I'm feeling my emotions, even if I think that's related to Kevin. Deep down I know it's not, right? So I'll let him witness my emotions. He can lean in and trust me that I'm not going to make it about him. So I'm not attacking, blaming, or criticizing him. If I cannot talk to him without attacking, which doesn't really happen, I don't think it ever happened, but in theory, I go and do my processing. Take my time to feel, release, and then I come to him.
Right, and this is just a huge part of Tantra in general, is not judging the emotion. Because emotion is energy in motion, it's a neutral force, and it's intelligent. Emotion wants to express most of the time, or it wants to be seen, and then it'll just move. Emotion's always coming and always going. So if you get stuck somewhere and you're just like, this will never end, or like, I'm going to do something crazy, or this is where a lot of the pain comes, is because someone will lash out at their partner and use shame, blame, or guilt, and this will kill polarity, and this will create mistrust and resentment. So what's really healing about her as a very feminine, emotional woman is that I can trust her emotions because I know they're not going to fuck me up. It's like, there's a storm coming, there's thunder, there's rain. Cool. I'm going to sit with my umbrella, or I'm going to, batten down the hatches, and I'm going to breathe through the storm. And then the storm will pass, and it's sunshine and rainbows, and it's amazing. But then the storm will come again. And just learning that process is huge. And this is something a lot of men I work with, just need practice at doing. It's like, oh shit, she's going crazy, or she's upset, or she's crying. What do I do? Let me fix it. And then these usually bring out what mom used to do, or the mother wound. And so you have to learn to lean into that and transmute it. And for women, if dad wasn't present, or the father wasn't really in a healing space to able to receive the emotion, or even be aware of it, as a woman, you got to learn to express it and trust that the man is not going to try to change it or not going to hurt you, but actually can just hold space for you. And most of the time, as you said, this leads to more connection, more intimacy, more sexuality, more love. And this is just a practice daily. It just goes and goes and goes. So there's so many questions. I feel like we should rapid fire some of these. But we're answering a lot of them with kind of what we're sharing right now. Some really good stuff. So this one says, Kevin, how do you experience the difference in masculine women versus feminine women?
Good question.
Oh, God.
Go for it.
I mean, everything we were just talking about has been a feminine-led woman who has emotional health, or the ability to move emotion or express it, which is so healing. My experience of masculine women, and this is a spectrum, it's not like one or the other, but a woman who's less able to surrender into her feminine in relationship or in business will do the masculine strategies, which is isolate, suppress, problem solve, or try to move or fix or like move things around in order to achieve a result, right? Masculine mind is very linear. And so a woman who's not able to access her body, so that means she's not really feeling her womb, she's not really feeling her heart, she doesn't have a practice like she does to move energy, move emotion, needs to cry, needs to scream, needs to orgasm, whatever, move the energy. Masculine women that I work with in my professional work, and also in the past, partners, they were unable to access that. And that's just because they didn't know, or they hadn't had a female mentor, or they didn't have that awareness, and that can be learned. It's not an issue. And as a woman, it's quite easy to learn because it's what your natural inclination is. So, for all the women out there that are experiencing that, it's like, get support, reach out. This is an amazing woman to reach out to if you want to learn the nitty gritty of that. And the opposite is true being with a feminine man. A feminine man who gets stuck in his emotions is not able to hold a container of presence, or is wishy-washy, or unable to commit, or unable to be solid. He's not erect, he's not in the pocket where he can resist the changes, constant changes, because the masculine can be that pillar. So the opposite is true for men that are stuck in their feminine, which I've experienced this in the past for sure, you need to cultivate the masculine principles: discipline, commitment, structure, boundaries, purpose, direction. That will help that man become a better partner to a feminine woman. And this is extremely important to understand. And yeah, a lot of folks, I think, love this stuff. It gives me so much joy to see what's possible in communion, so romantic. You guys are amazing. Thank you. Any advice to a woman who has a strong desire for a man to initiate lovemaking more? That's a good one.
So you need to do a separate live on this, because this
Just
has
give us a sneak peek, babe.
so many nuances. The feminine leads very differently than we think. We often think of initiating and leading from the masculine perspective, which is taking action and going for the thing and saying, I want this. You can refine the masculine way to lead if you want later. But the feminine leads, it almost doesn't make sense to most people. Through her body, through her responsiveness, and through enticing desire. Meaning that there is a surrender that happens in your body when you allow the pleasure, the desire to rise through your body, right? And you let that be revealed, and you let yourself be seen in that. So for example, I'll give examples so that it really makes sense to people. Like yesterday, I came to Kevin's room. He's single focus, working. And then I brought him a delicious hot drink, and I happened to be naked. And so I actually didn't even have an intention to take him out of his single focus at all. But since I was in my body, I had just been sunbathing, I was like dancing, and without even trying, he's like, his desire was ignited. And then the rest is history, right? So the feminine leads through her body, through her sensuality, and through offering him the gift of her sensuality. So you don't ask him to do something, you don't tell him what to do, that's actually the worst thing. But you create a space where he is excited to lean into your sexuality. So you have to become more interesting than his single focus, than his computer, than he's watching TV or stuff like that. Because very often, if a woman is like a laptop reporting information, yeah, he did this, oh yeah, my neighbor did that, and that's my to-do list, and blah, blah, blah. Actually, his single focus, like TV or work, is probably more entertaining than your to-do list. I'm sorry to say that.
It's huge.
So you have to become more interesting than that. And not to change him, not to manipulate him, but actually it has to come from your joy, from your overflow. It's like, I'm having so much fun with my body. Well, if you want to taste that, you can come. But I don't need you, but that would be fun. Right?
This is a huge code. As a woman, it's like, hey, husband, boyfriend, I want you to initiate more lovemaking. That's the worst thing that he wants to hear. Put yourself in his shoes for a moment. Access your masculine side. The masculines, one of the main masculine wounds is failure or not being enough. So when you are saying that, what is the translation that his subconscious is hearing? It's that you're not doing it right? You're not doing the thing. So he will feel, fuck, I want to do the thing right, which he might force push through it and just do it. Most of the time, though, it's going to be from a place of obligation. It's not going to be authentic. It's not going to be juicy. That's not what you want. You're going to get what you want on the surface, but deep down, you're going to miss out. So what she just said is huge, is masterful. Entice, become more interesting, become more sensually embodied. And if you're listening as a woman, you're like, well, we're dating or we're married. It should just be that way. Or like, I don't feel it. It's like, well, that's your shit. You need to access that in your body. If you need to self-pleasure, if you need to take self-care time, if you need to be in nature, do your practice, move the energy, get embodied, and then entice, magnetize. Sensual radiation is what he's going to come to. And it's so easy. It's just nature. It's like you're trying to swim upstream and build a dam when actually you just need to let the water flow downstream where it wants to flow. He wants to make love to you. The masculine wants to penetrate the feminine body and heart. But if you're blocking that by, shame, blame, guilt, obligation, shaming, You're going to achieve the opposite result. This is a huge part of kind of the distortion around men and women in the world right now, and what we're healing and shifting, all of us, is the reversals. It's all reversals. So a lot of the women are acting like men and depolarizing, their men. A lot of the men are acting like women, or they're stuck in feminine and depolarizing the women. And the beauty of it, it's kind of intense and it sucks, and the media is telling all this stuff about, gender wars and all this, it's all noise. Nature, the intelligence of nature, the intelligence of your divine being knows. And so if you just align with that and get out of the way of this stuff, it will happen. And we just shared a lot of the core tactics of this stuff, which is huge. And yeah, it's an amazing, amazing question.
And I want to speak into this. There's one core element that I've experienced myself in women's work when we speak about that. The first response that very often comes up in women is, why would I do this? I've already done so much for our relationship. It should be him. So there could be many reasons why this is happening, but the very, let's say the common denominator is the resentment. The resentment that we have built over the years with our fathers, with our past partners, society, being overworked, so many things, right? And so this resentment, it's like a thick shell covering our heart, covering the deep desire to be ravished, to be claimed. And then it kind of gets all distorted. And so instead of actually allowing ourselves to liberate more love, we think, we kind of disconnect from the deeper desire, which is love and connection and intimacy, right? And we make the other responsible to make us feel something or do something. So this is one of the most powerful hero's journeys for women, actually, to clear that resentment. And it doesn't happen overnight. It is one of the most healing journeys that women will go on. And it's life-changing and it works.
Yeah, and it's getting rid of expectations. It's the same for men on a different scale, around the resentment of, why isn't the woman fulfilling my needs? Why isn't she enticing me? Why isn't she XYZ? And this is healing mother-father stuff, it's healing society, it's healing work, it's healing all the distortions from, porn, from past wounds, and from all these unmet needs and intimate desires that are just natural. As a human being, you're built to love, you're built to be in relationship. And we build walls, we build armor. A lot of the masculine heart is also armored to feeling the feminine, or being sensitive to his own body and to the woman's body, because he's had to armor up because other men taught him that, or society taught him that. And this is a big journey. And yeah, this is not something that you instantly move through. This is something that you practice, and you go bit by bit, take one bite at a time, and communicate this with your partner. If you have awareness of this and you're speaking into it, and in a tough moment you're able to navigate it with agreements, with sharing, with healing touch, with nonverbal space, you're going to have a much easier time to just kind of slip through these tough moments without a lot of drama, because it's actually just the nervous system regulating, and that inner child getting to know that it's safe and it doesn't have to fight or lash out or change things or manipulate to get the love that we want. We're all just trying to get the love that we want. And setting that up is a lot easier than it sounds, but it's very simple. It's not always smooth if we have these armors or these patterns. So this is huge. So many family and friends on here. You guys are awesome. Thank you. Sometimes as a mother, I find myself in seasons of masculine holding so much for my children throughout the day. Yeah, this is a common one. We kind of spoke to this already, but yeah, as a mother, if you have kids and you're the main child bearer, you need a village. It takes a village to raise kids. So you need other women, you need support. Reach out for that, ask for that. And also, if you're in a relationship and a mother, you're going to have to do these practices to shift into your feminine, to enter the romantic space with your partner. You're not going to be super mom and then all of a sudden be gorgeous goddess that wants to be ravished. You got to transition. A lot of this stuff is all about transitions, especially if you're working and you're really, driven. you're going to have to transition from work mode to love mode and just make that a ritual. And we were talking about this with a couple the other night on a double date. Is like, what are these rituals? What are these practices? And these are extremely important. Men need transition time after being in full focus mode after my computer. I might just need to zone out. I might need to go for a walk. I might need to work out. I might just need to scroll on my phone for a second or like read something to pop out of that, get a drink, take a shower, move my body, and then suddenly I'm ready to pop into, love mode. And same for a woman. You come home from work, you're done with the kids, you're transitioning, put on something sensual, self-massage, move the energy back into the lovership space and the intimate space. Because if you just go straight in without the transition time, you're like walking in with your armor, you're walking in with your energetics from work, which are very different than the energetics in love. And just understand that. Just like you do a morning routine, just like you go to yoga class, just like you go to CrossFit, whatever, you have to get ready to do the thing. And you have to put on different clothes, a different mindset, a different breathing pattern, all of that. Same thing with love. It's just, again, no one is teaching this stuff, and no one is, no one's talking about it in that way, because a lot of us just have these assumptions and expectations. A lot of this stuff is unlayering assumptions and expectations about how you have to be and how it has to look.
And this again is bringing us back to my favorite word is intentionality, right? And the very essence is the union between our inner masculine and feminine, so that structure and discipline throughout the day is, for both men and women, is the inner masculine in creating a container where we can create, where we can hold clients, where we can come back to the body, right? So me as a woman, actually, yes, I'm a very feminine being, but actually have a lot of structure. Every single morning I have a very consistent morning practice where I kind of create an imprint of my body of what it's like to feel, what it's like to cry, be sensual, connect to my bigger vision, right? And then throughout the day, I keep coming back to that. At the end of the day, I also have a ritual. I actually have a guide called The Sacred Shift with 20 feminine rituals. DM me, all of you on both screens, if you want that I take myself through so that I'm back into my receptive mode. And Kevin has his own version of that. And again, I will emphasize this. We do this not, as women, for example, we do this not because we need to experience intimacy and we have to adapt ourselves to be there for them. Actually, we do this because we come back to our natural essence. Because if you think you're doing this for someone else, it's going to build resentment, and that's not the way.
Exactly. Resentment is the ultimate polarity killer, and that's really one of the major codes. We're going to start to wind down here, but if you're immediately just like feeling us, you're like, whoa, fuck, I want to learn more. We have tons of free resources. We do this with clients. We have programs. So easiest way is just shoot us a DM right now. I'm at Kevin J. Orris on her page. She's at Work of Alon. If you're not following the other one on Instagram, find us. We're both live right now. And yeah, what is the most exciting offering that you're working on, babe? You want to share?
Yeah. Next week, I'm doing a free 3-day masterclass initiation into hair. So it is going to be a very practical, activating experience for female entrepreneurs specifically who have found themselves that one day they were little girls, playing with fairies and all of that. And then the next day, they're paying taxes, managing teams, and navigating complex relationships, marriages, and all of that. And we kind of forced ourselves to be this big adult woman navigating complex realities, but actually we have no skill set of navigating this reality as a feminine being, right? So I believe that all of us as women, we need an initiation into womanhood, right? A rite of passage that takes us through all the angles, meaning our body, intuition, sexuality, emotions, so that we learn very masterfully how to navigate life as a woman, as a feminine being, right? And I feel that female entrepreneurs who actually hold a lot of responsibilities and actually have the power to lead from the feminine because they have the flexibility of time and vision, they're the ones that feel like I really feel called to serve the most. So this is a call for all the high-achieving women. Find me, DM me, and I'll send you the link, and we'll meet on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Next week. Amazing.
But I have
Definitely go to that. Yeah, this is highly recommended. The program I'm cooking up, which will launch probably in a month or two, but I'm already taking early bird people right now, is called Primal Polarity. And it's basically, if you love what we're talking about, this is what we're going to geek out on. It's an 8-week training around the primal ancestral ways of being a hunter, dating a gatherer, being a king, warrior, lover, magician, being in a relationship with a queen, priestess, oracle. And so these are the archetypes I work within. It's very deep on the side of embodiment, ritual, and just the straight up tactics too, like how to DM a woman, how to date a woman, how to cultivate tantric practice and awareness, and also the purpose side for the masculine and for the feminine side, some of the stuff we're talking about, rituals, magnetism, and sensuality, to clear the space to actually be with a very powerful man. And this is for couples, so I'm working with couples also, because this polarity practice is probably the most important when you're in a relationship, but also this will be extremely important for dating, because if you're single or if you're dating casually, the polarity practice is going to determine what partner you're actually cultivating. Most people I've met, even if they're quote unquote polyamorous or whatever, exploring, they all want the same thing. They all want a committed partner. Women want to be claimed, loved, met. Men want to lead and feel the full love of the feminine oracle. And so this is, for couples and singles. If you want to get in on that, I have a free masterclass I've already recorded. I'm going to be doing another one that outlines it. You can DM me right now. I'll send you that. So make sure you follow both of us. Check out our pages. And we'd love to see you in these offerings. We also work one-on-one with VIP clients. So if you just wanted to jump into that or apply for that, we can talk more about that. Go ahead and send us a message. And babe, thanks for doing this. This has been really fun, and our first foray into this digital realm together. So you guys are legends. Go out there and feel and experience legendary love. We'll see you soon.